And we're finally back with such an interesting topic. This idea of no dating and concentrating on your studies is such a popular Filipino cultural belief, and I don't know where that stems from. Do you well, because I found it perplexing because there was only one Filipino girl in my elementary school, and we're very similar. We went to Catholic school, right? So we had very small classrooms. So within like a room of 25 students, there was another Maria, of course. And she was the complete opposite. Her parents were so progressive.
Oh, wow.
And
what is that even like?
I know, right? So this juxtaposition of seeing her, like, her parents being totally cool with, like, you know, she can talk to boys. Not that they're like, oh, date or anything like that. But there was, she didn't have a problem talking to boys. She never felt this fear. And I could sense that at an early age.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was little, like, my dad specifically, not my mom so much, but my dad always instilled, concentrate on your studies. No boys. You're not allowed to have a boyfriend until college. And maybe in college, that's when you start looking.
Mine wasn't even like concentrate on your studies. It was just, and it was more in high school or like 7th, 8th grade when there was like the opportunity to really date. Because I had like so many boyfriends when I was little, and you know that means absolutely nothing.
Absolutely,
it's like, oh,
kindergarten
it's my boyfriend. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
But then like when I got to like 7th or 8th grade, like it was absolutely like no dating, no boys. Oh, I always had a boyfriend though. But I remember my dad in 7th grade. I called a boy for homework. And
was it really?
He was so mad. He didn't talk to me for a week. I remember like we had to go to my uncle's house and he refused to look at me. Like he was so mad. And it's so dumb when I look back at it. And it's just, and I have a brother. And my brother could do whatever he wanted. There was such a double standard in our household. Like and my dad's, there were 2 excuses. So one excuse was that my brother couldn't get pregnant.
Of course. That's always the excuse.
But we have learned from other cousins, they can get someone pregnant. And if that woman is nuts and they have a baby with her and they don't get to see their grandbaby because this woman doesn't let that. That's a very specific scenario.
You're very specific.
But it's just this really bizarre excuse to just like, I don't know what it is about like making like girls like so precious or so like, I don't know what it is, but it's just, it's so different. And it was such a huge struggle for me because it would piss me off that my brother could, and my brother was younger than me, 3 years younger, and could do whatever he wanted, and I couldn't. Like in high school, like I could go to parties, but like, and I made ways around it.
Of course,
you know?
Good girl. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you did.
But yeah, it's just the fact that that's like their mindset, I think, is what's annoying.
You're so lucky because you had the open mind to just break the rules and think outside the box. And
I didn't break them as much. Okay, so the one time I tried to sneak out of the house, the one time my brother, it was like 11 o'clock at night, right? And so my mom typically worked nights, so my dad was like raising us, like he was the one home with us all the time doing our homework. I had really long hair. He would like brush my hair every night with like conditioner. And but he was also the one at home with us,
Yeah.
so very
Watching
strict.
you like a hawk.
No, he wasn't, because he
Really?
was always, he worked at the post office. He was always
working,
exhausted.
working and watching.
Working
when he
and
can.
watching. Well, no, he was asleep on the couch, so that's how I snuck out.
watching.
But we lived on like TV dinners, fast food. And so my brother at 11 o'clock at night went down to my dad and was like, Dad, what's for dinner? And he was like, I don't know, go ask Stacie. And he's like, she's not here. And that's how I got caught.
That's
and
so
so my
messed up.
mother came home from work. Like, they were like about to call the cops. Yeah, they're nuts.
Because this is pre-cell phones, right?
I had a
Did you
cell
have a cell
phone.
Oh, you had a cell phone in high school. Lucky.
But I had a cell phone, I think. But what was it? I think a friend of mine called me and was like, Stacie, your parents are calling everyone's phone.
See, that was the issue with me because I didn't have a cell phone, so they would call my friends.
Yeah.
So did you see on your cell phone if they were like trying to like
I don't
contact
remember.
and you were
I
just like,
don't
no.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
But I'm so proud of you, Bravo. For, like, I wish I had the courage to do that, because I have two older sisters. And like my oldest sister, because bless her heart, she had guys pursuing her and stuff, but she was more reserved and quiet. And so like I think she got the grunt of it from my mom of like, don't get pregnant, blah 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 blah.
Don't get pregnant.
Yeah, it's so mean, And then I think it was my middle sister who was It's always the middle child who's like rebellious and like, would just talk back or whatever. Rightfully so, because we're not doing anything wrong. But again, this culture clash. So the third child is always the one observing everything. And so while I wanted to be the good child and like I don't want to get in trouble because I see what it does to like my sisters, at the same time I wouldn't necessarily sneak out. I did in New York though.
In New York?
In New York.
What were you doing in New York?
In New York,
Such a young age.
So my concert choir. This is why people would join concert choir too. Well,
So like band camp
we
type
love
of thing?
singing. We got to perform at Carnegie Hall.
Oh,
I
wow.
know, which is such a great honor. With the famous John Rutter, we got to sing Mozart's Requiem. So we were like one of a handful of schools across the country who were invited to sing Easter Sunday at Carnegie Hall. And so, man, when you put high schoolers, especially from the Midwest, they get crazy,
Really?
and we're all staying in a hotel.
I'm
and
imagining this like
stuff.
Sister Act 2.
Yeah.
It's like
Sister Act 2, but like PG-13 rated R. So, because I was a sophomore, so I was on the younger spectrum of like the age range. And then so, not people from our school, but I would notice people from like other schools, like, especially if their chaperones weren't, watching them on the clock or whatever. I would see them in the hallway just totally like going at it, making out and stuff. I'm like, damn, get a room.
oh my goodness.
But that was probably the first time, the only time I snuck out. I'm getting both trips mixed up. Oh no, I did it sophomore year too, because we went senior year also. Sophomore year, we did, I think, sneak out somehow to somebody else's room from another high school and totally like met a crush on a cruise from Texas, another school or whatever, and somehow started talking to him. So like we didn't do anything at all like wrong or anything, but the act of just like sneaking out to meet a crush with other people around in the room and talking to other people from different schools was already, to me, felt like I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But like felt good at the same time and gave me a rush. But like I could never tell that to my parents. I could never.
Oh my God, I could never. Even
Right?
I'm like how old I am, I could never tell my
I
dad.
know.
Like,
If they hear this podcast, you're like, you
he'd
did
still be
what?
heartbroken. Yeah, it's just like, oh my God. Like, but still, why do I still have that like
Guilt. I like, or not even
Yeah.
guilt, but of this like uneasy feeling.
you don't?
I'm doing
Yeah,
something
like I
wrong.
still don't want to disappoint them.
But it's this, like, luckily well, it's debatable, this repression that I've
Absolutely.
experienced. Because, I mean, I technically didn't date until, I wouldn't even call dating, hanging out or like seeing people until college. And what does that do to somebody when like everybody else, not everybody, majority of people around you, the culture, the society around you is practicing life or like, you know, following a standard that is different to yours. And so from my experience, when I notice this, it's just like, I feel like an alien. I'm so foreign to what everybody else is going through.
Yeah.
And so I tried my best to acclimate, like even other Filipinos from like Vallejo, when I would hang out with them in like Bible study or like youth groups and stuff. And they're like, Marie, you've never kissed a boy? Or like, and it would be like, and they would say it out of surprise because I would do my best
How
to
old
like,
were you when you first kissed a boy?
it wasn't until college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, till I was 18. Yeah.
Oh,
And so, I know, it was until I was 18.
Baby Marie.
And it was lovely. I wouldn't change it for the world. But I wish I had experienced it like normal people in like junior high or like high school. When was your
Seventh
first?
grade.
Seventh grade?
7th grade.
Really? Pray tell.
It was my friend's neighbor. It
Your
was at a park.
neighbor.
It was-
Did you know your friend's neighbor beforehand, before the fact? Okay.
No, I had a crush on him.
Oh, so it was an
No, it
ongoing
wasn't
thing.
like, oh, we're at the park, boom.
No, because for some people it is, especially when you're like younger than that.
Oh, no. No. But yeah, it was fine. Maybe if I was 18, it would have been better. I don't remember it. I just remember the circumstances of it.
Oh, was it like a, or was it like
No, it was...
full on makeout?
Well, now that I'm remembering it, I'm like, oh no, it was like special. Like, if you like think back, 'cause at first it was just like I just remember the circumstances, but then when it's like, oh no, it's sweet.
And you couldn't share this with your parents?
Hell no!
at
Oh my
all?
god, I don't even know when they assume. I have no idea.
My parents
even what they
probably,
think.
they probably still don't think I've kissed a boy. No, I'm kidding.
They're hoping.
Like,
Not until you're married, Marie.
they know I've had boyfriends.
Oh
They've
my
met
god.
boyfriends.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like
I saw Susie wrong. Dick in it.
even just imagining a fictitious scenario
Yeah.
where I'm dating.
Yeah. I'm sure they were just like,
Oh, no. There was even, I think they saw online one of the first short films that I had written and produced. So my character has a one night stand, and the cinematographer does a really good job of like doing cutaway shots and making it look grainy and stuff.
there was the sex scene?
Yeah. But it wasn't like grinding or anything. You know, it was very tasteful of like, you know, a drunken night of like me going on my scene partner's back because we're coming home from the bar. And then we'd walk through the door of his apartment and we like tumble, you know, messily, drunkenly make it to the bedroom and like maybe like cutaways of like stripping, but you don't even see nudity or anything. It's kind of more so, I love that, we're in the Philippines. Implied, you know, you kind of, and you see me sneaking out in the morning. So I think it was either my mom or your dad putting like a comment. I don't know if it was on Facebook or some sort of platform. And it was public. It was public and published. And I think there was just an emoji of like a shock. And that was it. That was all. And that even when I saw that just one expression, I was just like, part of me was like, okay, I'm in the clear because I don't have to hear like a spiel, but at the same time, it was like my heart like closing it. I'm like, oh gosh, they know or
God.
recognize that I'm not this like little girl anymore.
Why are we still like that? It's so annoying. I don't know why we're still like
We're
that.
in our 30s.
Yeah,
I still
it's
feel you are
ridiculous.
married.
I know! And still the thought of it, I'm just like, ugh, like, why is it so ingrained in us? Or where did it come from? Why are they like that? Like, I don't get it.
Do you hear stories from your dad when, like, he was growing up of, like, what it was like?
I think he's like that way because he was a whore.
Oh, my dad.
I'm convinced.
I'm convinced my dad, he never talks about it, but, I mean, he was in the Navy. Come on.
And my aunt was telling me that because she went to, I think, because my dad went to Ateneo High School, and I think it was all boys at the time he went, but she went to the all-girls school, but I think that they, would, like, have, I don't know, like, probably like Carondelet and De La Salle, where you're always doing dances, or I don't know what together. But all these girls, she said all these girls would at her school, they'd pick like a little mentee who they'd like take under their wing. Well, and she's like, and all these girls wanted to pick me to get back at me because my brothers had screwed them over. And he was one of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm convinced because he didn't want me dating because he knew how bad they were.
I think they know. I think that's why dads are so much more protective over the girls because they know what they've done. Yeah.
Hypocritical.
It's so hypocritical.
Yeah.
My mom, on the other hand, I think she was like a little Miss Sweetheart. Not like super, super sweet, but she would have... My mama can talk so much, and that's where I could get it from if I had the opportunity. But she would tell stories of how, like... oh, like so-and-so would have a crush on me in grade school, but like I would be like so suplada, which means like spoiled or not spoiled or like very stuck up, and would just kind of not maybe flirtatiously, the guys would probably perceive it that way, but like push them off and just be all like, no, like I'm too good for you type of thing. I think.
I love that.
Right? It's cute, but at the same time, I'm like, Mom, really? Are you telling the truth? Like, I hear my aunties like tell stories of like, oh no, like so-and-so's brothers would have crushes on her. And like, I think so-and-so was her first boyfriend. So I don't know what the exact truth. I'm sure it's somewhere in the middle.
I'm sure our parents don't tell us everything either. They don't.
They don't. Absolutely. Because they're like, no, we lies. They're like, we didn't date until college. Really?
Right. Well, my mom had my sister when she was young, so I know that's not true.
I know. I'm like, the jiggy's up. The jiggy's up.
And I was 7 years old when my parents got married. So my brother and I were both in their wedding.
See, doesn't it feel hypocritical when you can't deny the facts? Like, you know. And at the same time,
Tyson's parents, like, his mom was pregnant when they got married. Like, so many people back then, like, they think that it was like a better, simpler time or whatever. But no, it was just more secretive.
More secretive. Exactly.
Which makes it worse. To hide things is so bad.
It is. And I see that. I don't know if it was the same at your high school, but again, because it's a Catholic school, not only the cultural, but the religious repression also.
Oh my God,
I mean, I think it would be the older generations of like, you would hear stories or you would even see it of like, you know, a girl getting pregnant, a Filipino girl getting pregnant, being like shipped off to wherever, maybe somewhere in her families to have the baby or whatever.
I feel like some people in my high school may have gotten pregnant, but I never knew about it because I've seen them later on Facebook and I'm like, they have a kid who's like older. And I just never, maybe not, I'm not sure, but I don't know of anyone like at that time who was like, oh, they're pregnant, so they've left. But
they might do a good job of just hiding it.
Yeah, maybe.
Or just being secretive or whatever it is.
And I don't know. Are they not allowed in a Catholic school?
That's an interesting question.
Because I've watched those like 16 and Pregnant and they go to school, but they look like they're in public schools.
I think those are, I would say
So
public
I
schools.
wonder if like, do Catholic or private schools have a rule that like you could like, that's so fucked up.
I know. I mean, I don't even know the
I've
name.
never seen anyone at my high school.
I knew of someone in the Filipino community, but she was much older, because you just hear stories. I mean, chismes and all that stuff. And you would hear stories of how, like, she still went to school when she was somewhat pregnant, and you could see, like, the uniform. They had to, like, you know, extend it or whatever. But by the time I got to school, I think either the administration or whatever, if there were rules, or maybe because birth control was like more widely practiced or were more educated about it, you know, that I didn't see instances of that anymore, you know, which is interesting.
I don't know. Did you have, like, what is it called? Family life?
Is that like a class that?
Yeah, like in like 5th grade.
I don't know if it was called Family Life.
Tells you like
the sex talk.
Basically.
Yes, they had to separate the boys in the 5th grade room and the girls in the 6th grade room.
Yeah, I remember someone in the man who, I forgot what his name was, but the man who was doing like the talk with the boys, they wanted it to be very open for everyone. So they were like, oh, any questions you have, it doesn't matter what they are, put them anonymously in this box and we will answer them. And someone asked, like, how do 2 men have sex?
Wow.
And he answered, and parents were fucking livid.
I bet at a Catholic school.
God, it's so fucking hypocritical.
Oh my gosh. See, I wonder, I don't know if the parents had to sign off on, like,
you did.
Really, of like, my child can participate.
Yes, you did.
Like,
I think so.
Because I just remember being in that room.
Because I think some people didn't participate.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember being in that room, and like, I think because I had a female teacher at that time, she was the one doing it. And even though I was young, I could recognize that she was trying to be very professional about answering the questions and doing it just as a matter of fact. And I don't know if I'm making this up, so forgive me, elementary school, if I'm making this up. But like, I don't know if they were even showing safe sex practices or showing of like, this is what it is, and this is a condom. This is like how it goes, because that would conflict with Catholic upbringing, you know. I don't know if they were just simulating him like with a banana of like, this is like, I don't remember
like the books
clearly
or whatever, and it was more so like, you know, like the diagrams of like the uterus, or, you know, I don't know.
It was a haze for me. I just remember being separated into classrooms and being like, oh, this is a sex talk.
Yeah. Did you know what it was at the time? Like,
I think being the youngest of 3 girls, I already knew what sex was, even though my parents never had the sex talk with me for some reason. I don't know if it's just floating in the universe and I just always knew what it was. But maybe because I heard it from my peers also, that everyone would just either, you know, not only joke about it, but also like, you were cool if you knew what it was, and like mention somehow, you know, not in passing, but like dropping in like a sex tidbit here or there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why sex is so taboo when it's like the most natural thing. And then it's so crazy because they're like, don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex. And then once you get married, they're like, have a baby, have a baby, have a baby. How do you have a baby? It's so weird. And policing our vaginas forever.
And of course, it's the whole like, I don't know if they knew this with studies of just like, when you give the negative command of don't do this, you're programming your mind saying to do it, you know? It's like, don't spill the milk, don't spill the milk, don't spill. You're going to spill the milk, you know, because you're drawing attention to it rather than, I think we know
but
this better
nowadays. But you're making it taboo. You're making it like... Rather, you know, especially like when you're experiencing something new, it's exciting, or if it's like you're not supposed to be doing it.
Rather than, again, normalizing it and educating about it. Because if you, I think we're getting this in this generation now, like, education.
Yeah, but I think for girls especially, like, they've instilled so much guilt in us regarding sexuality where it's so unfair. Like, we can't enjoy it like men can. which
that it's like, it's okay for them because they can't get pregnant, but they will get somebody pregnant. Why does that not like,
they can
like,
spread
compute?
diseases. Like there's so many, like
Exactly.
it's just disgusting.
I will hear like maybe, you know, adult men of their idea of like, well, you know, it's not like a vagina. It's not like it's it's not penetrated or whatever. It's not like,
What are they saying?
It's just, you know, like, it's not like, how did they phrase it? I've probably heard this from like either my dad, uncles, or cousins even, of how like, you know, a vagina, once it's penetrated, you know, versus a guy, nothing different happens.
You've heard that from your uncles?
Or somebody. I don't want to like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm trying to generalize and not put anybody on blast, but a male perspective.
What does that even mean? And so what's the point of that?
I know. So I remember hearing that and I'm like, no, that doesn't commute.
What does that even mean? I don't understand these like analogies or like, what does that mean? So what are you saying? And then it's like, who are you expecting to have sex with?
Yeah, I know.
If you want women to be so chaste or
exactly. If like these women that you're having sex with are whores or whatever you want to label them, they are somebody's daughters. They are somebody's sisters. They are somebody's cousins.
I don't even care if they're any of that. We should be able to do whatever the we want. Like, without like having shame or guilt put on us. Like, I don't understand these like...
I have an idea of where that shame may come from. I've thought about this before. I think there's this disconnect with, again, education, where I think the purpose is, yes, they don't want you to have premature babies. They don't want you to have STDs. They don't want you to be in a situation where you can't live your life to the fullest.
Yeah.
But I think the way in which they're doing that is obviously what we're saying right now, problematic.
But they're saying don't have sex at all, be abstinent, instead of being like, if you have this urge, it's totally natural. I get the don't get pregnant because having a child is so much at any age. I totally get that. But the fact that it's like, don't do it at all because it's wrong.
Yeah.
Instead of like, be careful, be safe, have fun.
It's the belief system that it's this tainted belief of what, again, going back to the how, rather than abstaining is what they're pushing. That's not even just a Filipino thing. That's like even like, you know, like across thing. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Versus, okay, let's give you all the information and you make an informed choice.
And let's be fair. Let's not have a double standard.
Yeah.
If it was like, okay, all men and women, boys and girls are treated that way, I could maybe see it. But the fact that there's such a double standard is what's infuriating. And that we're not supposed to do it, but they can. Who are they doing it with?
I know.
And then the women that they're doing it with are labeled poorly. So that being said, like, have you thought about how you would want to raise your children, boys or girls?
Oh, absolutely.
Especially with your, upbringing.
Absolutely. I definitely still want to instill some of the values of Catholicism because I think it does hold water, but I think the way in which I explain it will be the difference maker. So I think, again, I'm so rooted in education of like, okay, here are the facts. Every action has a consequence. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Here are the positives and here are the negatives.
Yeah.
And this is the reality of the situation. I cannot control what you do. There are things that I would hope for you, but ultimately you have the agency. And I'm I'm like talking to you like you're my child. I hope that you make informed decisions. And now that you have it, like, you're free to make whatever decision you want.
Yeah.
Because I think that liberated feeling will give them more of a sense of like, oh, wow, I don't have to do one thing or the other, you know? Because a lot of people will react in the complete opposite way. If they're being repressed, you see people just completely rebel.
Yeah.
You know? Or if somebody is like completely repressed, you'll see just them like, oh, we're so sheltered. It's so sad.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, I've thought about it. I mean, it's so hard to say, like, when you don't have kids, but I know just, like, coming from how I was raised, like, I just want there to be, like, such open communication. Like, I don't want them to feel like there's anything that they can't come talk to me about. Because, like, I feel like with us, we lived in, like, so much fear of, like, disappointing our parents. Like, I don't want them to have that fear of, like, I'll be disappointed in them if they do anything, or I can't talk to my mom or dad about this because it's wrong, or blah, blah, whatever it is. Like, I want them to always feel like they can come talk to me, and I want to know them. Like, I feel like I didn't really have deep conversations with my parents growing up, and I'm like, I don't even know if they know who I am. So I feel like if that happens and, like, you know who your child is, that's really important as well. And they know who you are. Like, I find things out about my parents, like, so later in life, even small things, sweet things, bad things. And it's just like, why is there so much secrecy when everything should just be open and they can learn from my mistakes. But yeah, open. I just want an openness with my children and that they feel safe with me because, yeah, that's what I want.
I love that. You said something so brave of, I want them to know my mistakes. My parents never say that. I think they'll say it out of angst and anger if there's an argument or something, but never in a calm conversation of like, oh, you know,
because one mistake that I feel that I've made is because of the sexual repression is that I waited way too long than I wanted to or should have to have sex because I thought it was wrong or I was shamed about it or I had guilt about it. Whereas, like, I don't want my daughter especially or son to ever feel guilt or shame around sex. Like, I don't want them, like, having sex when they're, like, kids. Like, you know, you want to protect them, but I also want to just, like I said, make them feel safe, that they can come to me, we can have these conversations about it, because I don't ever want them having guilt or shame around sex, because it sucks. It's so terrible. Especially, like, as a woman who was raised in that, like, you don't do this because it's wrong. You're wrong if you do this. So, yeah, that's what I would want.
The communication is so key.
Yeah.
I want to have that with my kids, too.
Exactly. So, I don't know. It's just, I say that, but who knows?
Who knows?
What kind of parent I'll be like.
Making the same mistakes as our parents.
And our kids don't know about it.